real test is whether you'll be doing that at the end. We had a very constructive hour-long discussion, and I couldn't have been treated more respectfully and courteously, which I greatly appreciate. And I think there was good listening going on both sides. We had a chance to share different perspectives, and I understand that the members of the two Republican caucuses believe very strongly in their perspective, and I believe very strongly in mine. So we're still at that point of differentness, and I'm hopeful that we can still find some way to resolve that difference in a way that we can both accept and resolve this for the benefit of all the people of Minnesota. But again, it was a very constructive meeting, and I thank the Republican leaders for setting it up, and I thank all the members of the two Republican caucuses for being extraordinarily gracious and respectful.
Did you hear any new ideas that might lead to an agreement?
You know, I'd have to think about the hour. I just got through it, but again, I think the fact that we could talk constructively, civilly about our respective differences is a promising note.
Promise of what? Promise of what?
Well, I agreed to meet tomorrow morning with the conferees on the education bill, the K-12, and I agreed to meet with the conferees on the State Department's bill after that. So, we'll talk about what we agree on, try to clarify what we don't agree on. So, we'll continue the dialogue and negotiations starting tomorrow morning.
Governor, is this indicative then that you might be willing to sign some of those?
I'm not going to get into that now. I don't know. I've got to look at the bills.
Governor,
let's see what happens with these negotiations.
What sense do you get about how firmly each side is willing to take this? How far? Special session?
We didn't talk about that. We talked about what right now, here and now. What do they believe? What do I believe? What's important to them? What's important to me? That was our discussion. It was solely focused on right now. Let me give a chance to the others to speak. Thank you very much.
Oh, Governor, you're there.
I'm not leaving. I'm just going to get
No. Well, we very much appreciate the governor's time coming over here and meeting with all the caucuses, both caucuses. I think it was very constructive. There was some give and some take. Obviously, you have the opening remarks that the governor gave already. But I think for me, the most striking, probably the most touching, a lot of members shared their stories. They shared their stories of their businesses and what this would mean. They shared the stories of their families and what this would mean. And I think Senator Michel gave me the story that I'm going to remember most out of this. She shared what's been happening in her family in the last couple weeks, and she implored the governor. She said that when you talk to people and you tell them, people that have lost their jobs, people that have had their incomes stay the same or most likely drop in the last couple years, she said when you tell them that state government can either grow by 6% as we propose or 22% as the forecast goes, their choice is very clear, and that they want government to live within its means, and that they want government and they want us to hold the line on spending. And so I think that was, for me, what I would say is the most touching remarks that I had, most heartfelt.
Sure, and I think to echo what Senator Koch said, and especially to the governor, thank you. I don't know in my time down here that both party opposite caucuses got together and invited their governor in, and when at the end of session, when things are probably a little bit more hot than they are cold, he came in, we had a great discussion. But to Senator Koch's point, the competitiveness, and I think the thing you heard over and over again was, we are right there on the tipping point. We're going to lead the recovery, we're going to be a part of the expansion, or we're going to wait for it to come to Minnesota. What our folks shared with them was small business owners' perspective. What it is to meet a small business owner in the state of Minnesota and what could happen. And we just didn't want from a small business owner, what they've seen in their districts and what they've heard. You heard, I think more than once in there, a survey said this, my survey said that. Vast majority said that where we were, where we are, and the one thing that we do agree on, I believe, as a team here, is that we should get done on time. So very positive to see able to have some good constructive conversations in there, and hopefully still finish on time and in the best interest of the state of Minnesota, the balanced budget before May 23rd.
The remarks that we got from the governor did not seem conciliatory. Did they seem that way to you?
No. Well, I would say probably not, but also, again, being respectful that the governor's got, I think one of our members said it best, if we were just politicians, it'd be easy to get a deal done, but we're not. We're very principled on these stands. The small business owners that Senator Koch spoke about, these are decisions that they have to make each and every day, and it absolutely does come from the policies we're talking about down here and the competitiveness around us in the Midwest, but also around the country.
Well, the remarks that we got
About
said
the
the
heartfelt
impasse
stories from
is
small
partly
business owners.
due.
What about the heartfelt stories from the disabled, the sick, the elderly?
I can only listen to one at a time. I'm so sorry.
Listen to me then.
Yeah, that's a good idea with the press. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'll let him finish, then I'll go ahead.
Well, the impasse is due to your unwillingness to assume responsibility for leadership.
Well, I think if you look at our budget, what we've talked about in here again, there were many of our members that thought that spending the revenues that came in, again, not new taxes, new revenues, was enough. Where we thought common ground was to come to 34 or 33.999 billion from where we wanted to start off. Going to 37 billion was over where our members were willing to go. Leadership is finding that common ground within your own membership, but also within what the state has available. There's in the checkbook about $34 billion. That's where we think we should be at. I don't want to. I'm not going to monopolize the time.
Are previous politicians not principled? The idea that we have principles.
I'm sorry. I promised her to come back. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senator Koch talked about the heartfelt stories from small business owners inside the caucus meeting. What about the heartfelt stories of the disabled, from hospitals, from cities, from police officers about the cuts in the budget?
Well, the story that I was referencing, Rachel, had nothing to do with the business owner, actually. It had to do with the Minnesota family. She happens to be a state senator, but it has to do with their budget. And her budget, like most families' budgets, have either stayed the same or more likely gone down, and during very difficult times. And so while we as a state are very generous, and we need to prioritize, and we need to be protective of vulnerable folks, there's also an economic reality there. And the point was that if Minnesota families have to hold the line on spending, state government has in the checkbook almost the same amount of money as they spent in the last biennium. It doesn't seem unreasonable to say to state government, you need to hold the line, you need to live within your means. It's the same amount of spending.
Was there anything about this meeting that gave you any kind of hint that there's a pathway out of here on time, or did it just reaffirm what everybody knew going into it?
Well, I mean, I won't speak for my colleagues, but this business is about working together from a personal standpoint. I think anytime we're together as a leadership team with the governor, with our members, that's always a good sign. Things are bad when you're off in separate rooms. When we're together, when we're having a conversation like this, I consider a very decent conversation. That's a good thing.
Is the idea that you have
One more follow-up for Tim. So I would say there were at least 3 silver linings in this afternoon's session. The governor said he'd be personally involved in a K-12 discussion. The governor said he'd be personally involved in a state government budget discussion. And the governor was very gracious. This session is not going to end by a press release or a press conference. It's going to end with discussions. And the governor may regret doing this, but he gave his cell phone number to everyone in the caucus. So I'd say that's the 3rd silver lining, is that, again, this is going to be about discussions and communication directly with the governor. And so we appreciate
this
that.
idea of principle as opposed to politics. Do people that can compromise not have principles? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all.
But you're saying it's difficult for your body because they have principles.
No, I think I said both of us are. I mean, governor's very principled. Governor's very principled in his position. We're very principled in ours. So in no way would I say that anybody else who hasn't had the same principled discussion. Yeah. Sorry, Governor.
Governor, is this a matter of who has the most compelling, most heartfelt stories? Do you think the stories of families are less compelling than the stories of disabled?
No, I think they're all the Minnesota stories. They're all valid stories. They're all. I mean, that's why I think this process is balancing, these in some respects competing priorities of people who have needs and funding for things that I believe are crucial for our future, like higher education, versus the impact of taxes. And again, I said at the outset, I wouldn't choose to raise taxes on anybody if we weren't faced with a $5 billion deficit that all of us inherited from the preceding group of people.
Is a special session a certainty now?
I think what the leaders just said is that we're going to continue to talk, and I indicated I would be glad to meet with the leadership team anytime. I've got 2 meetings tomorrow morning, I believe, with the conferees on 2 bills. So we'll keep talking, and we have 4 more days, so we'll keep talking.
900,000 people elected you, and that
919,232. It's indelibly, that and my cell phone number are indelibly imprinted in my brain.
do you think that was conciliatory?
It's facts. They were elected too. I said it there. They were elected with their mandate, and I respect their mandate, and that's why I'm willing to meet halfway, because I respect that their mandate is the one that was different from mine, and the only way I can see resolving 2 very illegitimate but different mandates is to split the difference between them. So thank you very much. To be continued.